totally agree. I think there's this illusion around the world.
And we are live. Back at it again. Back at it again. We'll be right back with the White House press conference. We'll be right in a minute. Right in a minute.
They're excellent article. It's one of the best articles I've read in a long time about this. I gotta make a note of it. You are watching Agenda Free TV. We bring you live updates about, hold on, breaking news. A California congressman, Mark DeSaulnier, he's in the House. California congressman remains in critical condition in the ICU according to a new message from his sons. Update on Mark DeSaulnier, who is a California U.S. House representative.
What?
We've been amazingly moved by the outpouring support prayers and love for everyone who cares so deeply about our dad.
New Jersey is now on the second spot in the U.S.
We can't thank you all enough. It's a testament to him that even in this difficult moment, so many people have taken the time and effort to reach out on his behalf. At this point, our dad remains in critical condition in the ICU. Is he? I think I'm not sure if he's U.S. or I have to check if he's U.S. or California House. I gotta check. The doctors are hopeful he remains stable. Is he coronavirus? I don't even know if he's coronavirus patient. Now I'm confused. Well, I hope whether he's coronavirus or not, I hope he's okay. Let's see. I'm not sure if he's U.S. or I have to check if he's U.S. or California House. I gotta check. The doctors are hopefully remain stable. Is he coronavirus? I don't even know if he's coronavirus patient. Now I'm confused. Well, I hope whether he's coronavirus or not, I hope he's okay. Let's see.
How many bags? What the hell is that sound?
Yeah, what is that sound?
Dr. Fauci! Yeah, the mic is back, baby!
Yay!
Dude, what the fuck is that noise? What the hell is that sound?
That's the noise of our crumbling medical system.
Thank you very much. It's been a very busy day. I want to thank the American people for the incredible sacrifices that they're making on behalf of our nation. And I want to encourage everyone to keep. Based on what is best for the interest of our fantastic country. In order to defeat the virus, we must continue to be very strong. Your resilience and spirit has been inspired. In order to defeat the virus, we must continue to be very strong. Your resilience and spirit has been inspiring to everyone. Right now, this virus is attacking 49 countries, but everybody looks to us and they're watching us. And I'm very proud to be your president. Tell you that there's tremendous hope as we look forward and we begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Stay focused and stay strong, and my administration and myself will deliver for you as we have in the past. Let me provide you an update on critical preparations and supplies in a war on the virus. Through FEMA, the federal government is distributing more than 8 million N95 respirators, 14 million surgical masks, and many, many millions more underwater, and they'll be arriving soon. 2.4 million face shields, 1.9 million surgical gowns.
What's up, Clubson? What's up, Clubson? Is Clubson in the house?
More than 4,000 ventilators to the areas of greatest need have already been sent, and we have 4,000 being delivered to New York. The federal government is using every resource at its disposal to acquire and distribute critical medical supplies. The core element
What's up, Clubson? What's up, Clubson? Is Clubson in the
the
house?
use of the Defense Production Act, which has, as you know, already been activated actually a long time ago, quite a long time ago. Private companies are heeding our call to produce medical equipment and supplies because they know that we will not hesitate to invoke the DPA in order to get them to do what they have to do. It's called leverage. You don't have to use it from the standpoint of actually it's been activated, but you don't have to use it. But the threat of it being there is great leverage, and companies are doing as we ask, and companies are actually even better than that. They're coming through and they're calling us. And it's been really something to see. This morning, Ford, 3M, General Electric Healthcare are making tremendous numbers. They've already started. Respirators, ventilators, and face shields. They're working together. We didn't have to exercise or utilize the DPA in any way. And the fact that we have it helps, but we didn't have to, and for the most part, we won't have to. We're receiving full cooperation from companies with the understanding that the federal government stands ready to compel cooperation if need be. We haven't found that to be the case. It's been really amazing to see these big, strong, powerful, in some cases very small companies, family-owned companies, step up and make a lot of good. this, and what we did is we condensed it very seriously. And as you know, the other hospital ship, and these are incredible ships, it's already on its way to Los Angeles. So we're in frequent contact with state and local officials and getting a lot of work done. We're likewise building hospitals in Los Angeles. We're working also in the state of Washington. We're working with the governor of the state of New Jersey, building a medical facility, a hospital facility. And I want to thank the people from FEMA, the great people from FEMA, and also the Army Corps of Engineers. Secretary Mnuchin and the members of my administration continue to work closely with Congress. I'm pleased to report that we are working to pass the biggest and boldest financial relief package in American history. Senators will soon hopefully vote on a $2 trillion bill that will deliver direct cash payments to struggling Americans. No fault of their own. This came out of nowhere. Nobody can imagine this even happened, but it's not their fault. We want to protect, and we will, all of the things that a person needs protected and a family needs protected. We're working on job retention loans for small businesses and extended unemployment insurance for laid-off workers. The legislation will also include billions of dollars for additional resources for our heroic doctors, nurses, brave, and hospitals, as well as support for hard-hit industries such as the airline industry and the cruise ship industry, which employ tremendous amounts of people and obviously serve very important functions.
Most of them are not Americans.
With very tough protections for the American taxpayer. The loans will be very secure and they will be very profitable, and at the same time they'll bridge, they call them bridge loans in many cases. They'll be bridging these companies back into very good health. Some of them are very important companies that 4 weeks ago didn't have a problem. I'm also confident that the Democrats will do the right thing. I feel very confident. They're working very hard together right now, Republicans and Democrats, and they're getting very close to a very fair deal and a great deal for the people of our country. Today, as you probably saw, the Dow surged over 2,100 points. It's the all-time record history of the exchange. This is very encouraging, and I think part of the reason is they are looking at what is close to being passed, and I think a very big part of it is they see that we want to get our country open as soon as possible. They see we're working very hard on that. That's a very big factor, I think, in today's historic game. The legislation developed in the Senate is the first step to restoring confidence and stability to America's economy as we look ahead to the time when we can carefully and responsibly reopen our country for business, and we hope that's going to be done soon. I want to assure Americans that we have, that will do the right thing. I feel very confident. They're working very hard together right now, Republicans and Democrats, and they're getting very close to a very fair deal and a great deal for the people of our country. Today, as you probably saw, the Dow surged over 2,100 points. It's the all-time record history of the exchange. This is very encouraging, and I think part of the reason is they are looking at what is close to being passed, and I think a very big part of it is they see that we want to get our country open as soon as possible. They see we're working very hard on that. That's a very big factor, I think, in today's historic game. The legislation developed in the Senate is the first step to restoring confidence and stability to
You and your team need to work remotely.
America's economy as we look ahead to the time when we can carefully, responsibly reopen our country for business, and we hope that's going to be soon. I want to assure
Writings are ready to go templates. So
a
you
team
can
of
collaborate
health
with
experts,
tracking everything your
as
team's
well as I
working
know
on.
that they're great people, incredible talent.
Monday.com seamlessly integrates the tools you already use. Video conferencing,
Other
messaging,
professionals
CRMs,
develop
and
a
much more.
sophisticated plan to
It
reopen.
centralizes everyone's work into one shared, easily accessible workspace. So whether you're in the office, home, overseas, or on the phone, Monday.com will keep your team more connected than ever. Start your free trial today.
Great people have been, especially when it comes to our public health experts and officials have been helping other countries dealing with other countries, constant touch with other countries. Nobody has seen how many different ways I've never seen anything like what's happening. Marshalling our economic strength is our future based on defeating the virus to the opening, producing the material supplies and equipment America we need, and they're doing a really fantastic job. By that Easter, that beautiful Easter, helping the governors. Where the conference goes together, every decision we make is grounded solely allowed the press to join us in the call of our spirit between us and the governors has been really. This is a medical crisis. This isn't a financial. We should never be reliant on a foreign country for the means. Nobody has seen survival. They learned a lot like this. Marshalling our economic crisis is underscored just how critical it is to the virus. Producing the material supplies and equipment.
I found a way to run my old computer with no hard drive. Here it is, and it's not in this computer.
This experience shows how important borders are. Without borders, you don't have a nation. Our goal for the future must be to have American medicine for American patients, American supplies for American hospitals, and American equipment for our great American heroes. Now both parties must unite to ensure the United States is truly an independent nation in every sense of the word. Energy independence, we've established that. It's something incredible that we've established. We're energy independent. Manufacturing independence, economic independence, and territorial independence enforced by strong, sovereign borders. America will never be a supplicant nation. We will be a proud, prosperous, independent, and self-reliant nation. We will embrace commerce with all, but we will be dependent on none. Above all, we know that the best thing for
What's up, guys? Listening to the president right now?
the world right now is a very, very powerful victory over the virus. Every day the American people are showing the unity and resolve that has always defined the character of our nation. In New York, citizens are using 3D printers to make hundreds of face shields. They're making them by the hundreds. In Texas, businesses and churches are uniting to collect gloves and thermometers for hospitals. In the selfless actions of our amazing citizens, we're seeing enduring strength of our magnificent nation, a spirit that can never be broken, and a victorious future that can never be denied. It never will be denied. Now what I'd like to do is perhaps ask a person who has really established herself as maybe the world's great expert on what she does. If I could ask Deborah to come forward and say a few words, and then I'll ask Tony to come up and speak, and then our Vice President, and then we'll take a few questions, and we'll do it quickly, and probably see you again tomorrow. So, Deborah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That is the U.S. President Donald Trump speaking from the White House. That is the daily White House Coronavirus Task Force briefing and reiterating his hope of opening the U.S. economy again by Easter time. That's despite the coronavirus crisis. And just a reminder that so far in the U.S., 50,000 people, more than 50,000 people have been
by the decreases that are seen in mortality, the number of people succumbing to this illness, and the number of new cases. Our new cases will continue to surge because we're still working on our backlog, although we will be in touch with the laboratories after this press conference to really find out how many are still in backlog and how many were run in the last 24 hours. Until we can get into a 24-hour cycle, we're going to have disproportional number of new cases compared to the actual new cases, and we will let you know when we've reached that equilibrium. Finally, and I know Dr. Fauci will talk about this further, we remain deeply concerned about New York City and then the New York metro area. About 56% of all the cases in the United States are coming out of that metro area, and 60% of all the new cases are coming out of the metro New York area, and 31% of the people succumbing to this disease. It means, because they still are at the 31% mortality compared to the other regions of the country, that we can have a huge impact if we unite together. This means, as in all places, they have to be following the presidential guidelines that were put out 8 or 9 days ago, and this will be critical. But to everyone who has left New York over the last few days, because of the rate of the number of cases, you may have been exposed before you left New York, and I think, like Governor DeSantis has put out today, everybody who was in New York should be self-quarantining for the next 14 days to ensure that the virus doesn't spread to others, no matter where they have gone, whether it's Florida, North Carolina, or out to far reaches of Long Island. We are starting to see new cases across Long Island that suggest people have left the city. So this will be very critical that those individuals do self-quarantine in their homes over these next 14 days to make sure they don't pass the virus to others based on the time that they left New York. So if they've already are 4 days out, then it's just 10 more days. So I thank you if you help get that message out to others. Dr. Fauci?
Dr. Fauci's in the building!
I want to just talk very briefly about two things. First, the issue of testing and how that has really changed the complexion of the approach that we're going to be able to take. You're right, testing was an issue. We had many questions of testing in this room for a number of times. Now that we literally have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of testing out there are a few things that we can do with that. One of the things is that when we make policy about what
Finally, this man.
what the rest
I actually like this man, tell you the truth.
that are not hotspots, we need to know what the penetrance of infection.
Something about a man from Brooklyn telling me the truth that I like.
It's 6 o'clock. Spots that we don't know.
We got 3 people in the live. Shout out to y'all.
And they're going to be getting more data, a lot more data. The other thing is that the areas of the country that are not hotspots, that are not going through the terrible ordeal that New York and California and Washington State are going through, they still have a window of a significant degree of being able to contain. In other words, when you
get them out of circulation and you do the contact tracing. When you have a big outbreak, it's tough to do anything but mitigation. We have an opportunity now that we have the availability of testing to do that. So you're going to be hearing more about how we can inform where we're going, particularly because we have the ability to test. The second thing is I just want to reiterate what Dr. Berg said about New York. It's a very serious situation, and they've suffered terribly through no fault of their own. But what we're seeing now is that understandably, people want to get out of New York. They're going to Florida, they're going to Long Island, they're going to different places. The idea, if you look at the statistics, it's disturbing. About 1 per 1,000 of these individuals are infected. That's about 8 to 10 times more than in other areas. Which means when they go to another place,
Stay your ass in New York, man. Stay your ass in New York. I'm trying to come to Florida now. Jesus. It's true, man. That's why I stopped Uber. All I kept picking those people from New York. Like, hold on, you just came from the outbreak? Now you sitting in my car? Nasty.
And thirdly, just comment about drugs and the testing of drugs. You heard yesterday about drugs being out there that physicians on an off-label way can prescribe it to give people hope of something that hasn't been definitively proven to work, but that might have some hope. I don't want anybody to forget that simultaneously, without doing that, we're also doing randomized clinical trials on a number of candidates. You've heard about candidates, but there are others in the pipeline where we'll be able to design the study, and over a period of time, particularly since we have so many infections, we'll be able to determine definitively, are these safe and are they effective? We're talking about remdesivir, other drugs, immune sera, convalescent sera, monoclonal antibodies. All of these are in the pipeline now, queuing up to be able to go into clinical trial. So I'll stop there and talk. Thank you. Larry, how about just a quick few minutes on how we're doing over there?
Thank you, sir. We're gaining great progress on this Phase 3 legislation. Negotiations continue. We've had continued reports. I've been up there with Secretary Mnuchin. Secretary Mnuchin continues today with Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, checking in with the President. They're getting closer and closer. They expect to vote as soon as possible. I just want to walk through a couple of key points. This legislation is urgently needed to bolster the economy, provide cash injections and liquidity, and stabilize financial markets. To get us through a difficult period, a difficult and challenging period in the economy facing us right now, but also to position us for what I think can be an economic rebound later this year. We started the year very strong, and then we got hit by the coronavirus in ways that probably nobody imagined possible. We're dealing with that as best we can. This package will be the single largest Main Street assistance program in the history of the United States. The single largest Main Street assistance program in the history of the United States. Phase 2 delivered the sick leave for individuals, hourly workers, families, and so forth. Phase 3, a significant package for small businesses. Loan guarantees will be included. We're going to take out expenses and lost revenues. As the President said, eligibility requires worker retention. We will maintain the people eligible, will maintain their payrolls during this crisis period. And on top of that, we will have direct deposit checks of roughly $3,000 for a family of 4, and that will bridge to enhanced plussed up unemployment insurance benefits that will essentially take those up to full wages. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, a strong workforce requires strong business. You can't have a job without a business to work for. And the hope here is that the companies that were operating very well at the beginning of the year when the economy was in good shape, we will help them and their employees get through this tough period so they will come out the other side, let's say this later this spring or summer, and will continue their operations. That's the key point. Now, don't forget, there's income tax deferrals for individuals and corporations without interest and penalties. There's student loan interest and principal deferrals without any penalties. And finally, I want to mention the Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund. That will be replenished. It's important because that fund opens the door for Federal Reserve firepower to deal a broad-based way throughout the economy for distressed industries, for small businesses, for financial turbulence. You've already seen the Fed take action. They intend to take more action. And in order to get this, we have to replenish the Treasury's emergency fund. It's very, very important. Not everybody understands that. That fund, by the way, will be overseen by an oversight board and an inspector general. It will be completely transparent. So the total package here comes to roughly $6 trillion. $2 trillion direct assistance, roughly $4 trillion in Federal Reserve lending power. Again, it will be the largest Main Street financial package in the history of the United States. Liquidity and cash for families, small business, individuals, unemployed, to keep this thing going. We're heading for a rough period, but it's only going to be weeks, we think. Weeks, months, not going to be years, that's for sure. And hopefully pave the way for continued economic recovery after this crisis. Thank you, sir.
I've been hearing that voice for so many years, 30 years or more maybe, and it's a great voice and it's a great man. So Larry Kudlow, thank you very much. I want to say that that package, and we went over parts of it, but pretty big parts, it really sets us up to, I think, even supersede where we were a month ago. I think we can get up there quickly, and I think it allows us to supersede. It allows us to help these great companies that need help, like Boeing, which is had a problem, and then on top of that problem, it had the virus come in. But we'll be helping Boeing, we'll be helping the airlines, we'll be helping the cruise lines, we'll be doing a lot of things, and the money will all come back to us, and it'll come back to us in a very strong form. And before we take some questions, I'd like to ask our great Vice President to say a few words. If you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The White House Coronavirus Task Force met again today. And on behalf of the President of the United States, everyone on our team, and our state leaders, let me just say thank you, America. And people across this country, businesses large and small, are responding to the threat of the coronavirus in ways that are deeply inspiring. And people are acting on the President's 15 days to slow the spread. And it's making a material difference. Our experts standing beside us have told us that if every American, regardless of whether you're in an area that's impacted by an outbreak of the coronavirus or not, if every American would embrace these guidelines, that we could significantly reduce the number of Americans that would contract the coronavirus and protect the most vulnerable. And as the President reflected earlier, tens of millions of Americans are doing just that, and we're grateful. The focus of our task force, of course, is to slow the spread, to promote mitigation strategies. Beyond that, though, the President has us focused on testing and on supplies, and making sure that those that are enduring the symptoms of the coronavirus and those who are ministering to them, our extraordinary healthcare workers, have the support that they need. In the category of supplies, you just heard Dr. Birx indicate that we made great progress. We have done more tests in the last 8 days than were done in the previous 8 weeks, and it's because of the public-private partnership that the President forged with commercial labs. And I would encourage people around the country to remind your family members and friends, if you don't have symptoms, don't get a test. We want to make sure people who are having symptoms, who have a concern, have the ability to be tested and to have those tests processed. We're continuing to urge all county hospitals, all labs around the country to report to the CDC all the results of the test, as it'll give these experts around us the ability to continue to advise the President on best practices. As I mentioned, we all continue to follow the outbreak around the country and the test results. But as several have mentioned, we're particularly focused on New York. The reality is the New York metro area was 60% of the new cases in the country. And specifically, as a layperson, I can tell you that the infection rates are roughly 1 in 1,000 in the New York City metropolitan area, where they are 0.2% per thousand or 0.1% per thousand in places like Washington State. It is the reason why today the White House Coronavirus Task Force is calling on any American, first and foremost, if you're in the New York City metropolitan area or elsewhere, to take the guidelines that we issued and avoid non-essential travel. But for anyone in the New York metropolitan area who has traveled, our task force is encouraging you to monitor your temperature, be sensitive to symptoms, and we're asking anyone who has traveled out of the New York City metropolitan area or anywhere else in the country to self-isolate for 14 days. We have to deal with the New York City metropolitan area as a high-risk area. And for that reason, we're taking these steps and asking for the cooperation of the American people. Because of the spread in New York City, we will continue to surge resources. The President has described this. FEMA is coordinating with New York State for the arrival of the USS Comfort in just a matter of a few short weeks. Over the next 24 hours, more than 4,000 additional ventilators will be delivered to New York State as well. New York State has prioritized 3 alternative medical facilities, and at the President's direction, the Army Corps of Engineers is working on plans to build those facilities out. You've heard the President speak about the Javits Center, the addition of 1,000 beds, and we'll continue. I want the people of New York City and the greater New York City area to know that we're with you. We're going to continue to provide resources and to support your state and local officials as they confront the spread of the coronavirus in that great city. On the subject of supplies, we have meetings today at FEMA, which is working on identifying the critical personal protective equipment and ventilators. At this point, FEMA informs us today that they are distributing 7.6 million N95 respirator masks, more than 14 million surgical masks, and FEMA has already shipped 73 pallets of personal protective equipment to New York, 36 pallets of personal protective equipment to the state of Washington. We'll be meeting again tonight. As you know, the President stood FEMA as the National Response Center up, and they are in the lead for the approach to the coronavirus, which is locally executed, state managed, and federally supported. And we'll continue to surge those resources and make sure that they're available. One last word, if I may. The President reflected on the response that businesses around the country have brought to this moment. It truly is extraordinary. The President did initiate the Defense Production Act last week, but as the President has reflected many times, we will use the Defense Production Act if we need it to mandate production of critical supplies, but so far no one has said no. And in fact, we see industries stepping up. The President mentioned Ford Motor Company working with 3M and GE Health to expand production of medical supplies. We heard that McDonald's is now offering curbside delivery to truckers who are unable to use the drive-through to pick up a Big Mac. And I spoke today, and the President spoke last week with Tim Cook of Apple, and at this moment in time, Apple went to their storehouses and has donated 9 million N95 masks to healthcare facilities all across the country and to the national stockpile. There's a level of generosity that I know is inspiring to the President, and it's truly inspiring to all of us who are working on the White House Coronavirus Task Force. The President's made it clear that he hopes, in weeks, not months, to be able to open up the country. But let me make one last encouragement to every American. We will get to that day quicker if every American will put into practice the President's coronavirus guidelines for our nation. 15 days to slow the spread. If every American will do this, I have no doubt that we will slow the spread, we will protect our most vulnerable, and we will heal our land. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, you just reiterated that you hope to have the country reopened by Easter. You said earlier you would like to see churches packed on that day. My question is, you have 2 doctors on speak with you. Have either of them told you that's a realistic timeline?
I think we're looking at a timeline. We're discussing it. We had a very good meeting today. We don't get ready to go up. It's probably 9 days plus another 2.5 weeks. It's a pretty time. It's a little bit of original approvals. So we're looking at it. We're only maybe sections of the country, large sections of the country that could be to it. And we're very much in touch with the county and the government. And everybody's going out. I just said it was a beautiful time. A beautiful timeline. It's a great thing. It was based on a certain level of weeks from the time we started. And it happened to arrive, actually, we were thinking in terms of sooner. I'd love to see it come even sooner, but I just think it would be a beautiful timeline. Jim?
Mr. President, if you look at what we've just seen in the last day or so, you've seen the number of known coronavirus cases in the country double in just 2 days. Another 95 people have died just in the last 24 hours. New York's governor is saying this is spreading like a bullet train across the country, and the governor of Louisiana is saying that his state may not be able to handle the cases that they're facing by early April. So what are you seeing in all of this that leads you to think that we're working by Easter or even earlier?
We're working with all of them. We can be talking about large sections of our country because there are sections of our country that we didn't talk about that are doing unbelievably well. They have very little incidence.
I think he's lying because Cuomo said they sent 400 ventilators when they need 30,000.
Subject to what's happening in New York. New York is definitely a hotspot.
They need 30,000. Shout outs to Wendell 262. Wendell 262 in the building. Shout outs to her.
We have the hospitals up quickly, the medical centers also quickly. We can be talking about large sections.
I think he's lying because Cuomo said they sent 400 ventilators when they need 30,000. He's making a lot of things up. They need 30,000. Shout out to Wendell262. Wendell262 in the building. Shout out to her.
That area, I mean, will you be looking at disease numbers? Will you be looking at possible containment, isolation?
We'll be looking at a lot of things. We'll also be looking again at very large portions of our country. And I will be guided very much by Dr. Fauci and by Deborah and by some of the other.
Wait, Deborah?
Work with both of you.
Deborah?
And we're going to see what will be. But that would certainly be, I think that's a goal that perhaps can happen, or at least for a very large portion of our country.
Since the president said you and Dr. Birx and others will be guiding him and making the decision, where are you now this time around, 19 days from now?
So, I mean, that's really very flexible. We just had a conversation with the president.
Dr. Fauci! Wait, Deborah?
You can look at the date, but you have to be very flexible on a literally day-by-day, week-by-week basis. You need to evaluate.
I love me some Dr. Fauci.
Of what you're trying to do. And John, you asked for what kind of metrics, what kind of data. When you look at the country, then obviously no one is going to want to tone down things or just see what's going on in a place like New York City. I mean, that's just good public practice and common sense. But the country is a big country, and there are areas of the country, and I refer to this in my opening remarks, that we really need to know more about what the penetrance is there. So if we do the kind of testing.
Yeah, like New York needs to literally be shut down, but areas like Idaho, Montana, you don't kind of need the fully closed down. You just need moderate self-distancing.
Essentially treat it as just one force for the entire country, but look like flexibility in different areas. So I think people might get the misinterpretation. You're just going to lift everything up, and even somebody's going like that. I mean, that's not going to happen. It's going to be looking at the data. And what we don't have right now, that we really do need, is we need to know what's going on in those areas of the country where there isn't an obvious outbreak. Is there something underneath the surface that says, wait a minute, you better be careful and really clamp down?
Fauci! Yeah, we love Fauci, bro. Fauci kids are real.
So it's looking at information that up to this point, John, we never had. So it's a flexible situation.
New York becoming long. Is New York becoming the epicenter?
Well, it certainly is by far the, if you call it hot, if you call it any word.
Hot spot.
At a level that, I was speaking to Tony before, it's a level that no place else is close. It's very unfortunate. You know, one of the things that's happened that we've done, I think, a really good job on, I think, that it's something special.
You haven't done nothing for New York City. Not one did he give a compliment to Governor Cuomo.
She said, I learned it actually this afternoon, in 8 days, because we kept hearing about South Korea, and they had a very tough time at the beginning, if you remember. In 8 days, we're doing more testing than they've done in 8 weeks. That's a tremendous turn. And with our testing, it's going exponentially. It's going up every day. So we're going to be able to do things with this very highly sophisticated testing. And it's also, the test itself is considered the best test. So on top of doing now more than anybody else, we have a very high quality test. That makes a big difference. It also makes a big difference even in terms of opening, because we're going to see those areas like the hotspots. But New York City definitely is a very hot spot.
President Trump and his coronavirus task force want to bring in some analysis from our team right now. So let me start with Dr. Jen Ashton. Dr. Jen, so much of the focus on this goal now set by the president of much of the country up.
Don't cut the president, dude.
On Easter Sunday, April 12th, and you saw the questions there in the briefing room with cases doubling here in New York every 3 days. The big question, is that realistic?
Well, I think you have to understand, George, when you look at an infectious disease outbreak like we are seeing now, and Dr. Fauci has said this,
I think the media is starting to cut the president because the president is lying to the public.
What's coming into our hospitals and our ICUs may represent people who got sick 2 to 3 weeks ago. So that's how we're looking at the timeline of this. And when you talk about Governor Cuomo saying that the cases in New York are doubling every 2 to 3 days, that is a concerning trajectory here.
And so as we look forward, as we look ahead, we know the guidelines are supposed to be in place until Sunday night, until Monday. That's the end of the first 15-day period. Take a stab at the question that was asked of Dr. Fauci. What kinds of metrics will we look for to see, is it really possible to be easing these guidelines? Are we heading towards some sort of normality?
What really got my attention, George, is this edict, and it was mentioned by the Vice President, it was mentioned by the President, it was mentioned by Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, that anyone who is in New York recently should self-quarantine for a total of 14 days, which means if you were in New York 2 days ago, you've got 12 more days of self-quarantine. That is an incredibly important and potentially life-saving step that they are now recommending.
Because we're seeing so many New Yorkers go to places like Florida. We're also seeing other hotspots, the new hotspot now in the state of Louisiana.
So I guess Trump didn't take any questions from the black reporters, because the black reporters in the White House keep it real. The black reporters are asking the tough nail questions, and it seems like the president didn't want to answer those tough questions, which it shows you the type of incompetent from this man. Let's listen to Dr. Fauci.
That says, wait a minute, you better be careful and really clamp down, or what looks there that you don't really have to be as harsh as you are really. So it's looking at information that up to this point, John, we never had. So it's a flexible situation.
Have you noticed that Trump is trying to has been blocking Dr. Fauci? Like, he's making sure that Dr. Fauci is right behind him, so we are unable to see Dr. Fauci's reaction.
You know, one of the things that's happened, and I think a really good job of that something special that's happened is, I learned from Dr. Birx a little while ago when she said, I learned it actually this afternoon, in 8 days, because we kept hearing about South Korea, they had a very tough time at the beginning. In 8 days, we're doing more testing than they've done in 8 weeks. That's a tremendous turn. And with our testing, it's going exponentially.
We're also a bigger country than South Korea, so no duh. Our population's bigger. No crap. It's like saying, like, we are, I don't think South Korea has more than 60 million people. They probably got like 39-something million people. So what are you talking about? We're supposed to be more efficient than South Korea, you dumb. We give them military. Half of our military is in South Korea, 50,000 human beings of ours.
You can talk about the Farm Belt. Take a look at the Farm Belt. Take a look at areas out west. Look at big sections of Texas. I was talking to the great governor of Texas. They've done a fantastic job out there, but they have very big sections of Texas where, you know, it's like numerous states, frankly. But we can have large sections of, if we want to do it that way, we can have large sections of the country. But I think it's very important that we start moving on that and start thinking about it, because our country wants to be open. Our people want it to be open, and they're raring to go. And I think it's one of the reasons that we're going to have a tremendous bounce back. I think it's going to go very quickly. Also, I want to thank, while I'm here, I want to thank Larry for the job he's done, Steve Mnuchin for the job he's done. You look at Peter Navarro, he's started doing different things. He's really, he's a force in terms of getting masks and getting all of the ventilators and all of this. He's been a fantastic leader. But I also want to thank Congress, because whether or not we're happy that they haven't quite gotten there yet, they have been working the long hours. I'm talking Republicans and Democrats, all of them. The House, the Senate. I want to thank Congress because they are really trying to get there, and I think they will.
and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Did
Thank
you
you.
give us about the quarantine for people who left New York? Did you give the governor a heads up about quarantine?
Wow, what a crappy performance, huh? What a crappy performance by the president. What was that all about, dude? That was a lot of malarkey, like what's it called? Joe Biden calls it. Yeah, whatever that was embarrassing, to tell you the truth. That was super embarrassing. Yeah, that was bad. That was worse than the previous one, because this was sad. Like, this whole performance was very sad. Dr. Fauci was being blocked. So, shout outs to Andorera 90. She out here in the building. The new thing is trying to block Dr. Fauci, I think. He's trying to, like, occupy his space and not allow him to actually, like, show his emotions, which I kind of like Dr. Fauci's emotions, to tell you the truth. Man, what a performance by the president. That's as much as I could say. What a performance by the president. That was a whole lot of nothing, I think. A whole lot of nothing. We didn't get no real numbers. We just got promises. The corporations got better promises than we got as people. So, shout outs to the corporations, man. Shout out to the corporations out here getting the real promises. He did not promise be right back. And we are live, back at it again. Quarantine Nation Report is coming to you live, back at it again with some new information. Let's get it. So we just had the president spoke for at least 40 minutes. It was shorter than the previous press conference that we've been having. This one was full of a lot of hate. This one was mostly focused on the economy. The president declared that he's already calling it that by Easter, by April 12th, he will be having the country back running in motion. Something that I don't know if it's something that he should do, because the coronavirus is currently it's not even at its peak. We don't know how the coronavirus is going to react in other states different than New York. So for him to declare that in April is back in motion is very irresponsible, because there's currently people dying from left and right. So there was no concern about the people that were dying left and right. No concern at all. And presidents are there for popularity effect. This president is there for reassurance of corporations. The corporations started bouncing. 2,000 points on the Dow went up. Yeah, I commend them the fact that like the Dow is going up, but at the same time, in which type of degree do you want to get the Dow back? Do you want people to just like die fast and just get back in motion? Do you want to continue this whole thing? Because even in South Korea, the numbers in South Korea were looking pretty nice. 14 cases every day, a good ratio, and all of a sudden it spiked up. It spiked up. The same thing when with China. China was having a moment of like, we're not having no new cases. We're just having people coming in and out. And guess what? People traveling back to China, now you're still having 60 cases. People are still dying. So that was very irresponsible from the president to just have this. That speech was very bad. Dr. Fauci was there, but you could clearly see that they have a lot of animosity towards him. You have Dr. Fauci in the back of Trump. Trump is practically blocking his whole structure. So the reason why we like Dr. Fauci is because we get to see him in the back making those, those faces, making those reactions, just like us. When Trump says ludicrous things, and obviously Trump grew up in a golden carriage. So for him, that's treating people like crap is just a normality. It's just good for business. So it's good. It's good to have Dr. Fauci, but now we're starting to notice that at the same time he is being like controlled. Like they're not allowing him to talk a lot, too much. He's not being too freely like before. He should he's supposed to be the one leading this whole cause, leading the conversation of and the president is ignoring his recommendations, and he's bluntly just going back to business while people are dying by the numbers. So that was not even entertaining. That was sad to see a man that cares so much about himself, cares so much about the corporation, does not have any concern for the American people. Most of those people that he has no concern voted for him. That's the sad thing about it, so they're gonna see. And we have such a messed up infrastructure that all he talks about, he mentioned Boeing more than he mentioned anything. Like as if he already had planned, like he's giving me this acknowledgement of like he already planned to bail out Boeing, but now with the coronavirus he has a better excuse to bail out Boeing, because he was saying that they've been having a lot of trouble, not just with the corona, but back then when Boeing was selling messed up 757 planes, and there were two major accidents of planes literally falling because the autopilot system was not fixing all of the planes. So they basically were selling this planes that it was like a small little problem that they could have fixed, like a electronical problem. But it led to a lot of pilots to, a lot of airlines stopped buying from Boeing. They stopped the production of the 757 because they had to fix that problem, because you can't lose 200 people, 400 people in those two flights, actually, and have no concern. So do I want to bail out a company that is not efficient with its production? No. Like, Boeing has so many military contracts, and so why are we giving Boeing all this? Boeing is like the Microsoft of airplanes, or in like airline arena, basically. Because with Microsoft would put, you could be Dell, you could be Lenovo, you could be any type of thing, but Microsoft would, Microsoft was the one that lobbied like every computer has to have my system. That's why the Steve Jobs of this world became so much of of a notoriety because Steve Jobs was like, whoa, why am I forced to do your stuff? Why am I, that's why Mac became a thing, because it was like, no, I don't want to go through all this rigorous. I don't want to go to the start just to get to things, So Mac basically simplified things. So Boeing is not like a mom and pop's company. Boeing is not a company that actually needs its help. You know who needs help right now? The hospitals. The hospitals need help. Those doctors that are saving people, those people need help. Another thing that I was watching about like hospitals is that it's funny because hospitals are now crying like, oh, they're charging us $7 for masks when it used to be $1 or 50 cents. Yeah, hospital. You also charge women almost $2,000 for skin-to-skin contact of a baby. So don't come claiming like, oh my God, hospitals. You also overcharge people. So people are doing it back to you. You also charge $400 for an ambulance when a person probably didn't need an ambulance, or they actually didn't do anything in the ambulance to actually, You also charge $400 for for the FDNY to come in and break your door. Where in reality they could call the landlord and be like, landlord, let me get the keys, let me open the door. No, they break the door so they can say, well, we broke the door, we got to charge you $800 for that. So FDNY and like police, hospital departments, don't act like you don't overcharge people either, dude. Don't act like y'all are the victims of this thing. Not trying to this is not the right time to go against y'all, but I'm just want to put that in perspective that for the same medicines that somebody could go to Canada and buy it for like, I don't know, $10 in Michigan, which is like, I guess a less than a 30-minute ride from Canada. In Michigan, you can just buy the same medicine would be like, I don't know, an increase of almost 300%, probably like 150 for a pill that's like $10. So hospitals, if you're gonna start this whole conversation of overcharging, let's continue this conversation after the coronavirus is gone. Let's continue to push on medical for all Americans, because now you start seeing that, look, it seems like Bernie was talking ahead of his time. It seems like Bernie was warning us. So, right now, stay home, quarantine, try to not go outside. New Yorkers, stay at home. Because, like I said, when I go and pick up Uber, every time it's a New Yorker, and my biggest concern was like, damn, I'm picking up mad people coming from like messed up areas. And let's keep it real. If it was a person that literally would be like, I came from Wuhan, China, I'll be like, my man, why you not home? Why, how many days you been quarantined? So the same goes for New Yorkers. If you would be like, hey, yo, son, I'm from the Bronx, I'm like, hey, yo, son, get out my car. Like, hey, yo, like, no, because if you're an Uber driver right now, be blunt about it. Yo, where you came from? How many days? Oh, you just came from the Bronx? Sorry, brother. Most likely, I don't know, 100,000 people passed through the same door that probably like 10,000 coronavirus people passed through. And they did say it's airborne. They said it's aerosol. So there's a big chance that you could actually get the coronavirus from just walking through it. You don't have to physically be closer than 6 feet. So, man, this guy was a mess. He's so incompetent. I wish Mike Pence didn't get the coronavirus. I wish it would have been the president. But we all know they got the cure for the president. He is the commander-in-chief. Let's see. Breaking news. The young and restless actor Greg Gardner has revealed that he tested positive for coronavirus. There's a lot of pretty people out here getting coronavirus. Like all this like celebrities, all this like athletes. Coronavirus has no sympathy no matter what. Trump talking today like this is already ending as we near the end of the battle as we begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know he's trying to give us like a commemorative speech. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, bro, this is not your George Bush mission accomplished moment, all right? And if you remember that mission accomplished moment, that was when Bush declared that the war was over. He came in with big guns and big boats. Nah, son, it wasn't over. We still in that war. So don't try to claim that you finishing this off. Yeah, your Dow went up 2,000 points. Yeah, I get it. You like that.
Just like they told us, no need for a mask. The exposure to an average American is minimum. Why did they tell us this? Because there's a shortage of masks.
That, like, they try to scare us down about the mask because they don't want to show the world that, damn, the best country in the world, the first world country, and guess what? They don't have, we depend on China so much that right now we don't want to be like, yo, China, son. Nah, we got to make our own stuff. And also, like, a lot of companies, now you start seeing Apple. Apple gave almost 100 million masks. So a lot of these masks are being like hoarded. They're hoarded. They're in somebody's warehouse, just staying there. And there's people that have no sympathy of life. They're saying, I'm gonna wait until it reaches 300. So it's very sad and it's very selfish that we have Americans that have no concern for others, have no concern for our medical industry.
We should continue to report those Americans. There are numbers to call to report anybody who is.
So if you're price gouging, I believe Bill Barr, the guy from the deep state, the nasty deep state, or the Department of Justice, the Department of Justice, like Trump calls it. Am I live? Hold on, I am live. I got one person live. What's up with you? Let me try to share this because I need to share this.
People died of coronavirus.
And I believe Bill Barr, they can't be tired of coronavirus if people are dying. So you can't be tired. You can never be tired of information, I believe.
Believe so too.
The more information you have, the better you fight things like this. That's why, even though Andrew Cuomo keeps it too real in his press conference, he reassures people that, look, we working on this. We are on top of this. We're not sleeping. We're not waiting for people to die. We're assuming the worst.
We're not picking a place to order food like DeSantis does and then goes on Twitter to order food from that place. That's ridiculous. Go do some work, DeSantis.
Yeah, well, DeSantis, he has to listen to the people that got him in power. So DeSantis does not work for the people of Florida. DeSantis works for his donors. DeSantis works for the president because he's a cheerleader, And if you get caught up as a cheerleader, you gotta continue to be a cheerleader forever. The case of I don't know. The case of, what is the name of that guy? Like all those guys, Jake Tapper. What's the other black guy? Not Don Lemon. The other black guy from CNN. Like a lot of those guys used to work for the Obama administration, and they currently work in the media. They keep it straight with Obama. Like I stay loyal to Obama, regardless of anything, because they know that's where everything for them started. If you bring down Obama, you bring down yourself. So it becomes like an interest in between people, So so look at coming at his neck. Hey, real Donald Trump. Any way you could move to big open up party to the day after Easter, because I kind of want to celebrate both things. It's fucking, he's really freaking out on him, bro. Tim Johnson said, I don't believe all Democrats are heartless, dishonest, and crock as Pelosi and Schumer. Well, Nader fits that model. Why don't they get some cojones and tell Pelosi and Schumer to vote for the American people and not? So as you see they actually like starting to have this conversation of like they trying to blame the Democrats, but the Democrats don't want to sign a bill that gives unlimited money to corporations. You know, even Trump tried to justify it right earlier today, like talking about, oh well, you need corporations to work in a job. Not really, bro. You need people to show up in that corporation to actually get it running. And you know, it doesn't get run by the bonuses that those guys are getting. So you're, oh man, what did I do? Oh, that's what it is.
But country is getting more and more divided.
Well, the country was divided when they voted 61 in. I mean, is it 61? They voted 51% in 49. So this country was divided from the get-go. So it's just now people fighting for their own interests in reality. Oh man, hold on, let me fix this. I'm looking bad on this. I gotta do something, but I keep forgetting how to do it. Awesome. Awesome. Now we're talking. Sorry about that. Let me give you a little break. I got 4 people live. Let me just reassess myself because I was gonna look for some sharks, but let me see. Oh, shout outs to Miami Lana is live on the podcast. Listening to us live. Also, if you want to listen to us on Spotify, make sure you search the Avo Comedian Comedy Club comedy podcast. Just put Avo Comedian, activist and comedian. Put those words together, you will see, and you will get free entertainment in your car. If you want to listen to the news, if you want to listen to fully updates of this quarantine nation report, make sure you go and head towards Spotify. If you have Apple and you want to stay loyal to Apple Media, you could also go to Apple Podcasts and search me through Apple Podcasts. We also are in Speaker Podcasts, and we also are on Radio FM. So if you have Radio FM, you Google me, Avo Comedian on Radio FM, and we're now available in most of the platforms. So I'm glad I'm able to do that. If you want to see it physically, you can go to my YouTube account at J Lerma, or you could go to my Periscope account on Twitter at J Lerma, and you will see that I'm trying to keep up updates. Luckily, what we have is nothing but time. So yeah, let's get back to the summary of the day. First, let me switch the title because I know we already finished the whole conversation with Trump. So no need for Trump right now in the title. He was not. That was a very bad conference. I reassure Americans that if you really want to see a real conference, just listen to Mayor Bill de Blasio or just listen to Andrew Cuomo. Because whatever the president is doing is a shit show. It's a shit show. I'm sorry to curse. I know YouTube is very serious about cursing on the algorithm, but it's a shit show, man. You gotta call it what it is. This is embarrassing to have a president like this. But
He's losing money from his businesses, so he needs people to be back at work to make him money.
yo, what the heck was that, dude?